Hello, today we're going to talk about cover letter and references development. So keep in mind your references should be on a completely separate document from your resume. And so for your references page, this is in a nutshell a list of professional or academic referrals that you have of people who can speak to your academic or professional experiences, your work ethic. And so as you put together your references page, here is an example pictured here of Sally Scorpion's references. You want to include uh, their contact information, and along the top, it is useful if you simply copy and paste your same contact header that you used on your resume and cover letter. You want to also include at the top of your references for uniformity across your application materials. And then as you list your references contact info, it should include their name, their title, the company that they are affiliated with, and then a phone number and email address. Now, when you are listing these pieces of information, it's important to be consistent. And so let's say you are unable to identify the particular specific address, if you will, of a particular company that you worked for previously. Maybe that's just a piece of information you're missing. Well, then you want to then make sure you exclude it from the other references on the list so that you don't draw attention to the missing information. Also, it is helpful if you align your references to the center of the page, just so that it draws the attention. And double check the names and contact information by reaching out to your references ahead of time to make sure that all the info you provide is current. So let's review some references, do's and don'ts. So keep in mind, when you're considering references to use, it should be folks such as professors, previous teachers, supervisors, coworkers, coaches, and advisors. So notice those are all different academic and professional affiliates. When you are listing your references, as mentioned, you want to include their name, their title, their work address, phone number, and email address. And it is bolded on this page because it is very, very important. You always ask permission before including names on your references sheet. So it is customary that you reach out to the person that you're going to use as a reference. So each of the three that you include, you should be reaching out to them ahead of time and letting them know what the different opportunities are that you're applying for and asking their permission to be included as a reference. This way, they can anticipate being contacted for a reference check. Also, when you reach out to your references and consider who to reach out to, you want to think about who is going to give a stellar reference and recommendation for you. So it's important that you think of who you have been able to exhibit a strong work ethic in front of, as far and as well as interpersonal skills. And then also, it is important that you also send your references a copy of your resume, just to kind of remind them of when they worked with you in the past. And this way they have a little bit of a reference of what the information is that's pertinent to you and your work history. That way, when they get reached out to for the reference check, they are not having to just rely on memory. Some reference page don'ts includes avoiding using family and friends on your reference page, and you want to refrain from listing references on your resume or even putting references available upon request. That's no longer needed to list on your resume, especially considering the fact that if an application lists references as a requirement, then you'll just simply upload it. So you don't need to articulate that it's available upon request. Now let's talk about cover letters. So a cover letter is, in a nutshell, a written document that informs an employer of who you are, what your relevant experiences are, and why you're interested in their organization and why you feel you're qualified. So when you are going through drafting your cover letter, it is key that you maintain relevancy to the opportunity. And so, just like in your resume, you want to think of it like a marketing tool. And so, you want to pull up the job posting and then ponder your relevant experiences, and then be sure to incorporate some of the key words from the job posting into your cover letter. Also, keeping in mind, application tracking systems do sift through cover letters as well. So it is important that you use those keywords on your cover letter so that application tracking systems, which are used by a lot of different companies to review applications before a human even looks at your document, it's important that you're using relevant experiences and describing those in your cover letter. Also, you want to showcase that you've done research on the company or organization, and that can be exemplified within your cover letter as you're describing why you're very interested in this position within this company. You can incorporate some of the research findings and why that really correlates with your professional goals. It is helpful to use very concrete and specific examples within your different vocabulary that you're using in your cover letter. Being vague is not helpful at all. And as you can imagine, if you already have a resume that is listing very abbreviated your different experiences and responsibilities, then the cover letter is your chance to expand on those different points that you hope that folks noticed in your resume. And so in a resume, each bullet point, you get a sentence or less per bullet point. But in a cover letter, you could expand on one bullet point and one element of an experience for a whole paragraph if it's relevant and if it's very impactful. However, keep in mind your cover letter should be no more than one page. So here we see pictured on the right-hand side, Sally Scorpion's cover letter. And so in paragraph 1, there is a statement of the particular job being applied for, and a brief description of qualifications. And so that is what is helpful for that opening paragraph. In the paragraph 2, or as we would call it, the middle paragraphs, if you have many things to talk about that are relevant, then feel free to have multiple kind of middle paragraphs. This is where you're going to sell your relevant skills and experiences. And think about it like selling your passion for the position, but then also selling your ability to fit this particular position requirement. And then paragraph 3 is your concluding paragraph where you're going to thank the reader for their time and consideration for the opportunity and reiterate your contact information. So I'm going to run through a quick cover letter building exercise that I would recommend doing in order to tailor your cover letter. So first, you want to copy and paste the responsibilities from a job posting on a new Word document. So here we can see on the right-hand side, this is a posting of a particular education opportunity, and this is the snapshot of the responsibility section. So next, from this text from the job posting responsibilities, you want to go through on your Word doc and highlight in yellow the different tasks that you've done in the past. So this could be different sorts of experiences that you have. As we could see in the first highlighted area, create an inclusive classroom and school community by engaging in training, reflection, dialogue around issues of race, identity, diversity, equity, and inclusion for our staff and scholars. So let's say you also did diversity and inclusion training in a previous experience, then that can be something you highlight and etc. throughout. So you want to go through, even if it's with a maybe different specific population, but it's the same sort of work and tasks associated, you can still highlight it because it's transferable skills. Now you want to go through and identify your top 3 most relevant items that you accomplished, that are most impactful among those original highlighted areas. So you see before, you had identified in this example 5 of the different responsibilities that you have relevant experience in. Then you go through and highlight in red your top 3 that you feel like you would have most to say about. And now you want to use the red highlighted relevant responsibilities to use as the core middle paragraphs of your cover letter. As we mentioned before, your first paragraph should be your intro and summary of qualifications, but then that middle paragraph or 2 should be where you're digging into selling your relevant experience. And that's where you want to pull these 3 red highlighted experience areas and then elaborate on when you've done these things in an impactful way and highlight outcomes as much as possible. And this is where you want to go into anecdotal detail of a beginning, middle, and end of how you were able to accomplish this particular responsibility effectively. Thank you so much for your time and attention. And for any additional information related to references or cover letters, feel free to check out our website and or come by RSC 128. Thank you.